Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is your Sensei Al Bob. I am your griot. Welcome home to Dreamy Dreamland. Listen to anything I say. Remember this. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome aboard. And I just want to say I love you. And they've started to spray the sky again. Pretty much all summer, they had just been, powdering it, not really spraying it. But now I wake up this morning, the sky is full of chemtrails. I don't believe a word I say. Go just outside and look up. Because I can't believe that they're just doing it over my head and not over yours. Oh, let's see. What are people saying? Deborah, she is really, she's like a bone with a dog. I mean, a dog with a bone. Now listen to these shows she's got. Silent Weapon Warfare, Deborah Tavares, right? So, she talks about scalar weapons.
One final question. Are you fair income? Yes, sir. Can a kookaburra laugh? Hey. Around Australia. They gathered from far and near to listen to old mate William on the radio, loud and clear. He spoke about a foreign invasion. It's gone to the top job in the land. They're after our farms, our fish and our trees. So we called resistance to stand.
Yeah.
What it means to be true blue.
Fair dinkum.
Put the billy on Australia. Gather round that radio and come join the resistance. It's a fair dinkum radio show.
Fair dinkum. That means no bullcrap.
War had been declared against them. The stages of a great assault. War has been declared.
This is a declaration of war. Both the state and the federal government have conspired.
We are at war with those who want to destroy the family.
This is the most extreme, radical experiment in social and environmental engineering that Australia has ever seen.
We are in an information war.
Formal declaration of domestic war.
Sierra amounts to public murder on a grand scale.
Oh, yeah. They're getting excited there, Gang, this has always been going on, since we were made. We are, biggest biological experiment in history. We are the biological experiment in history. When you should read Mr. Darwin, because he didn't believe anything he said. He just wanted to be famous. So he did enough. I mean, did his experiments. He traveled. He saw all kinds of things. But you should read his journals, because he kind of goes on about, what the righteous few call it, where, God made us, something, I forget what they call it. But anyway, that's exactly what it is. But it's not so much God, but gob, the false gods. If you go to my writings at Griot Publishing at xratted.blogspot.com and go read my most recent novel in progress, which is Legend. And, right away, as fast as my little tip can go. And I'm blessed to have a laptop, but this is what they call a Chromebook. So it really doesn't work unless it's hooked up to the internet. So I got to drive 40 miles just to make it work. Then I can go home and I can write maybe 10 to 20 pages. But after 10 pages, it slows down until I jam it on the cloud. So anyway, I'm working away at it, and it's up there. And what can I say? Oh, I missed a conversation with you guys. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I just talk to the squirrels and the chipmunks and the birds, which is, they're really great to talk to. And God is always there, because, I'm surrounded by nature, And so all the craziness going on is just trying to force us into a corner. And I was thinking, I was looking through one of my photo books, and the time that I worked was part of Robert Wilson Dance Company that put together letters to Queen Victoria, and I'd stay on the beach, and I worked for Robert. I wired his loft, and we hit it off, kind of, and I liked to dance, and I was a theater lighter, and I was a massage therapist, and a filmmaker, and a photographer. Yeah, wow, should be part of the group. Take pictures, make films, like the show, rub my legs when they hurt. So, and then I could dance, right? And so, when we went on the road, I had time. I had a little chunk of change in my pocket, and I didn't give it to Robert, but before then, I took care of his cousin, Chris Knowles, who was autistic. And he was basically at the emotional level of a 10-year-old, right? He's a smart guy. He could tell you how to spell any word, or what date you give him, like a date, like, December 3rd, 3042, and he'll tell you what day it's going to be, right? Stuff like that. And he had a real interesting perception because he could see things, and then after he said, he would state what he saw, and then it was like he didn't think about it, right? He didn't let it clog up his RAM. And he kept saying these amazing things, and before I could write it down, I said, "So, Chris, what did you just say? What did I just, So I got a big voice-activated tape back in the day. They were like, the smallest one was about that big, cassette tape recorder. And I put a nice, comfy little thing. I said, I got a piece of jewelry for you. And I put it around his neck. And then we, went on with our day. He liked it. He really liked it. He looked like Flavor Flav before Flavor Flav had a clock around his neck. And they caught everything he said, right? And I would write it into a libretto. And then I gave it to Robert, and I said, you want to do an opera? Here's one. It's, letters to Queen Victoria. That's what Chris, I'm writing letters to Queen Victoria. And one time we were on the beach, and he started saying, and I'm Einstein on the beach. So that's where those two came from. And that's pretty much art in itself. It, history never writes down what really happened on any level, right? But I was looking at those pictures of Chris, and I was thinking, Chris motivated me once I got into the healing biz world, once I went to work at the VA and got into alternative medicine through my boss saying, he said, you're going to be my protege. And I said, no, I'm a freak. How can I be your protege? And he goes, that's what I'm looking for. No one's going to watch you. You can do whatever you want, right? So I did, and he sent me off to study with some amazing people. I went to Putney, Vermont, and studied with a Shinto priest from Japan. He was amazing. He taught me, the tea ceremony, how to bathe, how to cleanse, how to cook. Shinto style. How to meditate. He taught me jujitsu, and he taught me acupressure and acupuncture, but I never used needles because once I got deep into it, I realized no, acupressure will be good enough for me. I'm a white boy, and he taught herbs and. Up there in the hills of Vermont, there were a lot of old grandmas that knew a lot of herbalism, and they really loved Sensei. So they used to go hang with him. So I learned from them and from him and from the old crone. She got me started, and then I was dating a woman named Judy, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, and she started Crone and Coon, and that was. The first real time, big time herbal, she would have things brought in from all kinds of countries, and then she would package it up and sell it off to co-ops, in bulk and in smaller packages, and that actually became Whole Foods, and so I was at the beginning of that, in the 70s. And so I got, then I had to practice, once I was kind of, we were bringing on some amazing protocols at the VA, especially with drug addiction and acupuncture. And I studied with some Chinese doctors in Chinatown in New York. And I went down to Maryland and DC and studied with some, some folks from the Philippines and the islands, the Caribbean islands, and so that's why I got my people. So did you matriculate? What school did you go to? I went to I studied with the people who were it, not a school. People who learned it from a textbook. These people were it, and that's who I learned it from. And so once kind of the new age scene, I was, in the beginning of that too, in the late 60s, early 70s. And it quickly went from being something exciting and really alternative to the same old same. So I kind of just, left. And the last thing I did, I was teaching all this at the Swedish Institute in New York, which is a very well-known massage, and I was their alternative medicine guy. And out of that, I started to practice, and out of that, I started teaching at other places like Johns Hopkins and a few other. So I never really taught per se. I would lecture, right? Because to teach, you'd have to be, matriculating. You'd have to be an adjunct, and then trying to get your this and that, and be a tenured professor. No, I would come and lecture, and they'd let me do that. They let me do that up until the early O's. And then I got into the corporate world. And then I got fat, really fat. I mean, like 400 pounds fat. Now I'm down to 210, right? And that's why I'm alive. But anyway, I was taking a look at these pictures, and I had worked in North Carolina. There was a really interesting scene where there was a prison, and then above that, a high school, and then above that, a school that was a prison for teenagers, and then above that, there was a hospital for people who had Alzheimer's, right? And if you drove to any one of them, you had to go by that prison, right? And it was like the road was done in such a way, so the kids who were going to school were looking at the prison every day, either knowing that's where they were heading or you better not go there. And then the kids who went on to the prison for teenagers, they were like, okay, I screwed up, and so this is what I'm doing. And then the hospital above. So I basically first started out in the jail, working with, trying to teach guys, to get to a point where they could take their GED. Then I kind of because of that, kind of got involved with the high school. Then I got, worked at the prison for teenagers, and then I ended up in the hospital for, you know, um, and I would hit each one and do something that was so amazing that the powers that be said, "Well, thank you very much. Why don't you go to the next place? Okay, go up to the next hill." I spent the most time at the hospital because the people there who took care of those people were actually very nice. They didn't treat them like vegetables. They were very nice, but they were still in that protocol. And so they let me do my thing because I could, because I wasn't, their protocol. Yet I was put there to help them out. So I spent a good, I don't know, 8, somewhere between 7 and 11 months there, right? And I stayed there. I was kind of getting towards late summer, then fall, then winter. I spent winter there, and then early spring to about June. I think I left in June, and I basically lived there because it was cold, cold, cold. It was up in the mountains, and they needed somebody to stay there all the time. They had a nice little apartment. Nobody wanted to do it. I did it. They paid me pretty good. I got almost as good as the doctors there. And the doctors were very much, everybody, the whole staff was very supportive because I was there all the time. I picked up all the slack that they couldn't handle. And I kept doing, like, one of our biggest problems were, because it wasn't a jail, we didn't lock these people down. And so they would just stroll away out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, So it was winter, it was wintertime. They could die, they go out there in their slippers. And they would want to go downtown, which is like, 7 miles away. There was no downtown. But they would, like, start off, and then we'd all freak out and go, "Oh, my God." So basically I said, these people just want to, go to, Denny's. So why don't we build a nice little bus stop, a kind of enclosed bus stop with a little heater and a TV camera and a motion detector. So when somebody and put a big sign saying bus to Denny's, and all those people who would just walk out, and instead of going into the woods and dying and then having to have the state police there and cost thousands of dollars and helicopters and dogs and all of that, they would just sit at the, waiting for the bus, bus going to Denny's, And so virtually once I came up with that idea and we built it, there wasn't a single person lost. Whereas before I showed up, at least 4 people died every winter from just walking out. And like I said, they couldn't legally lock them up. So I kept coming up with ideas like that. And then I would walk out and say, "Hey, Bob, come on, let's go back in. They're having ice cream." "Oh, ice cream. Oh." And they'd forget about Denny's, and I'd go get them a scoop of ice cream. So, that's why a lot of those old guys called me the ice cream man. I was in my mid-30s, early 30s, or late 20s. I guess it was the 30s because it was after Don. And I kind of, that was, my third time for giving up on New York City. But I kept going back because I could always get, good work. And I was always a dude. When I was away at Australia, for in there, went into Lucy Lepard's Printed Matters, her loft, and it was like, I just left yesterday. She, "Oh, hey, gosh, you won't believe what we're doing at the, what we," and then they made this gigantic landfill, and then the collapse of the 70s. People go, "Oh, the collapse now." Ooh, you should have seen the collapse of the 70s. Wow. So one of the things I was ruminating yesterday. It was a beautiful day. It's like today, but they started to spray the sky. Now they're really spraying the sky today. Yesterday it was just a line or two. Now it's like big time. So, just go thumb. Oh, let's see. They're bothering me now. So I start talking about the things in the sky, and they come and bother. Anyone got anything to say before I leave? Because once they start doing this, it gets very jittery. I will stay on if anyone talks, and if we get more than 2 people. And it's been 20 minutes. So when it's 21 minutes and 21 seconds, and if no one asks a question, I'm going to split. So all I can say is we actually live. I mean, look, I'm living in my car, and I'm fine with it. I have no money. I'm fine with that. Somebody did drop some cash into my PayPal, which is at the dude awake 42 at Gmail. So why don't you guys throw something in there? It'd be really nice to have more than a few dollars every day. So, but somebody messaged me, Gmailed me about, what was it like taking care of your parents? Well, why did I take care of my parents? Because they were just like those old folks in the Alzheimer's hospital, but they didn't have Alzheimer's. They pretended to. My mom sure did. My dad not. And I was blessed to not really be infected by my family. But I'm still, I wanted to. In 1980, when Don and I came back from Australia, pretty much I knew the handwriting was on the wall with Don. She was moving on, and but she still liked, being with me, and she still liked the fact that I could make everything she ever wanted happen. But she didn't like sharing the spotlight. She would walk in with the dude, and everyone go, "Oh, it's the dude," instead of saying, "Oh, it's Don." So, but she was cute, and everybody hit on her. So, and she was, jealous of the fact that I wasn't jealous. She was really upset. Why don't you ever get? Everyone's like hitting on me, and you don't. I said, "Baby, I know you're coming home with me. Why should you're having a good time? You like the attention. Why should I make a big deal?" Because she liked makeup sex, right? I don't know why, and a lot of people do. My old sister's oldest son, he was married to this woman who was like, she was built, but ooh. And they would scream and yell at each other. Like the day they got married, he's in the tux, she's in the big thing. They get into an argument, and she chucks. She picks the wedding ring up off the pillow and chucks it into a field. We went out and looked for it, couldn't find it. We had to go rent everyone standing around. Half the people are in the church sweating away. And we had to go rent a metal detector to find the ring. Right. And they had 8 kids. So they would scream and yell. And I remember one time we went on, a family kind of, holiday. And we're all checking in this hotel. And they start screaming at us at each other in the lobby before they check in. And they couldn't, they were having sex, screaming at each other, having sex right in the lobby. And the guy just came over and said, here's your key. Just go to your room. So that was my family. And I was blessed not to be infected by any of that. I tried to be nice. I tried to, like when my oldest sister's, kids were growing up when they were like between 2 and 8. Her husband ran off with the whoever and left her all by herself. And I used to go visit because it was just a train ride away. And I would go hit the thing that was like the dollar store and get everyone a bunch of presents. And I would always come, middle of July, a ton of presents. We go and play with them. And if they broke, who cares? We just had a lot of fun. And as I got older and older, as the kids got into their teenage years, I was, the guy who was running the stage at whatever arena where Kiss was playing, and I would get them on stage. I would get them to go to the party afterwards. They were like 15 to 18 at the party with Kiss and all those kind of people, and And I remember when my godson had his first kid, and he said, I'm never going to let you hang out with my kids. I said, what are you talking about? Well, you hang out with me, and man, you did all this. We went to all this. I don't want my kids to be exposed. I said, well, you were exposed to it. You did pretty good. You had a good time. You had a lot more fun than if you just stayed in the basement. You became a much more outgoing, cordial guy. I know, but I don't care. You're not being with my kids because he had been infected by the bourgeois virus, which is way more viral than this 19 thing. But this 19 thing pretty much is acting just like you go on the line and you go up and look at, ask for, Google, excuse me, I didn't mean to mention your name. I didn't want you to wake you up. But, just go look up biological warfare, right? And see what, there are a lot of things up there. You can look at, people have put up the handbooks, from the 70s of what it is, how to do it, what's going on, what the, procedure. And there's a guy named Cliff Hyde, who has a YouTube channel. And if you go back to, January, he's telling you this is biological warfare. And he had his whiteboard and he's explaining everything. And it's amazing because everything he said in January is exactly what we're going through. And he said biological warfare isn't there to kill everybody. It's there to disrupt everything. And that's what's going on, And the hidden hand is just, okay, there's one thumbs up. Hey, I like it. There's 4 of you. And it's 27 minutes. See what happens when you're having fun? And it's still early. I have other things to go do, but I still have a little more time to talk to you. So, go look at Cliff Hyde's, January shows, January, February, March. And then he started going to other crazed stuff. That's okay. Because I guess somebody said, hey, Cliff, shut up, but he still liked the attention because he's got a zillion followers. Truly graceful, Grace does a great job. The guys who did a show called The Minds of Men, those people are really right on because they do they get a thesis, they do their homework, they do their research, they get a lot of clips and things, and they edit and then, script a really great documentary. They're documentaries. Me, I'm just, a scroll of time, right? And they're really good. And my good buddy, Max Igon in Australia. I don't know what happened to Max. I think they kind of, put a bag over his head and took him away because his channel is gone. There was a lady 2 years ago who was the illegitimate daughter of the guy who was going to be the King of England, and then he married the American girl, and that was a big brouhaha. And she popped out of that. And they shipped her off to Canada and never told her who she was. And then she kind of figured it out. And then she was smart. And she was more intense than David Icke. David Icke is, he's just a entertainer kind of guy. That's why he's still there, right? Let's see. Is David Icke still there? Oh, my hair came undone. Too many wires. Oh, and it was in the sun, so it's a bit warm. Okay, there we go. Laura Eisenhower, she's a trip.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. My name is Leon Pittard. I am the host of Fair Income Radio. We are broadcasting from the land down under in Australia. War has been declared upon the human family. We are now 60 plus years since this covert war has begun and is in operation. It is a broad spectrum warfare that involves thousands of different assaults upon the human family. All liberty and freedom-loving people must maintain vigilance, watchfulness, and a continual state of awareness as we go through this war. This war, as President Kennedy once described the conspiracy as it was evolving, is a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that has embedded itself within every aspect of our society. This is broad-spectrum warfare, ladies and gentlemen.
Then we have this guy.
Abraham talks honor, but he's just another political hypocrite. The news.
Spiritual unfoldment with John, what's his name? John Butler.
That's a good question. A very good one.
Repeat it, John.
Sounds like a real cry from the heart, that, doesn't it? It must be echoed by millions of perhaps particularly younger people. It certainly was in my young life.
John Butler, check this guy out. So,
Answer it, mustn't I?
yeah, you must. So that's, like the real difference between John and the other guy going, it's a war. That's where we are, somewhere in between, right? So, now we're at 32, and no one has asked a question yet. So, even though I got one thumbs up and got to 4 people, I'm gonna bail. So unless somebody comes on, and remember, be nice to everyone. Now you need to keep your 360 so you can see the real morons coming at you, and just get out of harm's way. You don't have to confront them, right? Just pray for them. I love you all, and Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, hear my prayer. Protect us, bless us indeed. Put your hands upon our shoulders and enlarge our territories and keep us from evil so we will do no harm. And every day in every way, we take the piece of the earth and we make it stronger. Okay, guys? I'll talk to you later. Again, it's kind of difficult for me to get on, I have no access. I have to I have to fish. There are all these terms that every time I use them, they mean something else. I have to find, if I can use that word, whatchamacallit, Wi-Fi. And it was very interesting. When this first started, pretty much every church was trying to help people out by opening up their Wi-Fi to everybody. And a lot of churches were giving food. But by March, that started to dwindle down to nothing. And now there's only one church that does it, right? And it's really amazing. It's feeding more than half the 3 counties. It's truly amazing. It's, we have 3. Has anyone ever read de Tocqueville, that nice French economist / theologian? And he came to America, in the early 19th century, early 1800s. And he basically, he was like an alien. He was an alien. He was from France. And he gave his perspective on America. He said, America, there was the government, there was business, and then there was the nonprofit entities. He said those were the 3 legs of the stool that keeps American democracy going. And he says it's an illusion, just like a three-legged stool. Most chairs has four legs, a stool has three. And because he said most societies, all the way back to Egypt and Greece and Rome and all the others, basically like Rome, had bread and circus, meaning they had a safety net, right? And we don't. But we do have nonprofits that kind of help people out. But when it gets to the point where 40-something% of the general population, so this little area, this squirrely little neighborhood that I live in, really is a demographer's dream, me, of what's going on in America. I don't really have to travel more than 40 miles in any direction, and I can taste, capture, experience firsthand. A lot of people go, oh, isn't it too bad? Most people don't realize that America is in a caste system. It's not race, it's not gender, it's not any of the above. It's a caste system, and it's very defined. We have the Brahmin at the top. Those are the people like Bill Gates, right? Then the average person who makes above 100 grand is part of the merchant class, right? And they're relatively comfortable until they're not. Because all you have to do is look at India. India, when Modi became, his, they keep saying India, the largest democracy in the world, and not really, because what they really are is a one-party system. Yeah, they got a lot of different parties, but the BJP or whatever it's called, which modeled itself after the Nazis. They're a fascist group that control everything. And Modi finally has gotten power. And there's a lady who wrote a really good book called The Doctor and the Saint. And it's an Indian name that I can't pronounce, so I won't even try. And another good thing you guys should, I have no TV, no internet, no nothing. So I listen to the radio. And luckily, there is a public radio station that's pretty good. And they have this one show called Alternative Radio. And it was a splinter off of, off of Pacifica Radio. Pacifica has a station in New York, D.C., Boulder, San Francisco. It's like a network, right? And just like Democracy Now! Is a network. Not really. And so Alternative Radio, kind of David Bartholomew or whatever his name is, and he has these lectures where he finds the best people and they come to wherever he's doing it, and he puts them up there on the internet. If you go to alternativeradio.org, find them, and all the shows are on. You can listen to them. They don't charge, they don't do anything. Now to get a audio copy, yes, they charge a few cents, but they will send you a written transcript of all the whatever lecture you want, and just call their phone number 800-444-1977. Pretty good for an old guy to remember that. Pick that out of the air. Alternative Radio, right? And so they had this last show. They had this Indian lady, and she is, once you just get into her rhythm of speech, she's amazing. And I then went and read her stuff, and I read this book, and it's all about Gandhi, and that he was, I'm not going to say what she says because she says it so well. And and it's poking holes into his story. So so they call India the biggest democracy, but no, they, when they sliced India in half and made Pakistan on one side and India on the other, and the Muslims were one place and the people who are the Indian, what are those guys? Hindu, and Kurdistan, I think so, or some other, not Stan, something was in between. And they are treating those. There are more of them than the Uyghurs in India, and they're being trashed like you can't believe. And you can see what's going to happen to us by looking at India, because India overnight like Modi got on TV and said, okay, we're getting rid of cash. We're going electronic. And it's happening in 4 hours. So no one, and he made the announcement at 6 on a Saturday night. No one could get to the bank. No one could get any cash out. Bingo. Everyone who had money in the bank basically lost it. Right. And if you weren't already hooked up electronically, it was bad. So they then gave an avenue for everyone to, get an app on their cell phone, and they didn't have a cell phone. Even beggars have cell phones in India. And that's how it's done. So they can see where everything is going. Now, they had this amazing system already online, already doing its job, already doing everything about it. And then India, COVID comes, and they had the foundation backbone to do tracing. Everyone's phones are hooked up to each other, and it all goes up in the cloud, and they see what everyone's doing. But they let everyone die because the people who were dying were the lower castes. Oops. And all the old people. Oops. And Modi doesn't want them. He just wants the younger upper class folks. And go look at old Bollywood films and then look at new Bollywood films, and you'll see, that's what I do. I look at trends. I look at things outside the box. And if you look at India, you're going to look at what's going to happen to the United States in about 2 months, right? So, but everyone here has a gun, so it's going to be a little more violent, and they want that. So, just look at what happened in that city where the 17-year-old kid shot those, and they were 2 white people who came out to demonstrate, and they went over to see, he fell over. They went over to see him, and he shot them both in the head, and the other guy shot him in the body. He survived, and the other 2 died. And, they're going to go at they are, he was protecting himself. No, I'm sorry. It's just like the guy, Zimmerman, who shot the black kid about 2 or 3 years ago, who was just coming back from the store after he bought some Skittles, and said, what are you doing? You're going to steal them from me, and pulls out a gun. And the kid runs away, and the guy, Zimmerman, chases him down and then kills him. And he got off on Florida Stand Your Rights. Well, let's see. Okay. Robert Merman. China, India. No, I'm talking about India. India. Go look, because India is the largest democracy. You don't know where you are. How do you know where? I say, Robert, you must be a troll. Could be. Yep. Oh, there we go. Okay, Bob. See you later. Boo, boo, boo. So, there's our troll friend again. And, if you don't have anything good to say, I'm going to hit those little dots, basically. Okay. So there's 4 of you. Nobody has anything to say? What happened to my thumbs up? It got taken away? Unbelievable. Okay, it's 44:26. I said the prayers. I drilled down some more, and it's time to go. Okay, at 44:44, I'm going to go. Here we go. 41, 2, 3. See you in a few days, whenever I can find, wherever I'm at. Remember, don't believe a word I say. It's all for fun. It's all for entertainment's sake.